Hello, everybody. I think we can start. So, Vorietta or Axel, would you
Yes, it's ready. You can start.
introduce? Okay. Okay, so hello, everybody. We are here for this webinar from observation to optimization, how forest monitoring tools can lead to climate smart decisions. Is a joint webinar putting together two projects, two Horizon Europe projects, OptFor-EU and ForestWards. And the reason to have this is that both projects respond actually to the same urgent challenge we are all aware of. We have European forests which are increasingly affected by climate change, by different extreme events associated or not with climate change, with pests and diseases, droughts, other disturbances. At the same time, forests, we know that are expected to provide multiple ecosystem services, some of them well known, which includes carbon sequestration, biodiversity conservation, timber production, water regulation, and last but not least, of course, social benefits. The need for precision in forest management has never been greater. And these two projects, ForestWards and OptFor-EU, contribute to a stronger science policy practice interface in Europe. ForestWards helps us better observe, assess, and understand forest resilience, while the other project, OptFor-EU, helps translate scientific knowledge into practical forest management decisions. So starting from these insights, we decided it would be interesting and useful for the community, for the academic community, for forest managers to present these two projects together. We will have today just a couple of results from the two projects. We will briefly introduce myself, and Hans Verkerk will introduce the two projects very briefly, but then we will have results introduced by or presented by Hans Verkerk, Giovanni Santopoli, Harald Vacik, and Francesca Gianetti. Two presentations for OptFor-EU and two presentations for ForestWards. This said, I will go to the first point in the agenda, which is the general presentation of the two projects. I will introduce OptFor-EU and Hans will introduce ForestWards. We will have questions. You may ask questions in the chat, and we have a panel discussion and answers at the end of the presentations. I'm Sorin Cheval. I'm a climate scientist working for the National Meteorological Administration in Bucharest, Romania, and I coordinate the project OptFor-EU, which is mainly about forest and DSS built for forest, so not on climate, not on my main expertise, but with a lot of climate challenges approached there. So I will show you in a minute what we are doing in, but this is not my presentation. Maybe I can. Oh. Just a second to. So I cannot share my screen. Maybe to be more efficient, Hans, please could you introduce forwards? Meanwhile, I will try to solve the problem I have here.
Yeah, I will get started. Do I do the entire presentation or I will do only the introduction? Yeah.
Only the introduction.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Also on behalf of the ForestWard project, my name is Hans Verkerk, and I'm principal scientist at the European Forest Institute, and I'm based in Finland. Within ForestWard, I am leading the work package on climate smart forestry and restoration, and I'm replacing here the coordinator of the project, who is Ruben Valbuena from the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences, and he is deserving some well-deserved holidays. So in ForestWard, we are aiming to develop the ForestWard Observatory, and the idea of the observatory is that it supplies timely and detailed information on the impacts of climate change on European forests. We want to understand what are the impacts now and then also in the future. We would like to understand what kind of climate smart forest management could be done. So we are setting up a network of climate smart forestry and restoration pilots across Europe, and the idea is that the results out of this is feeding into guidance that we should be developing on climate smart forestry and restoration management. And finally, the project will also include a system to involve stakeholders and also public participation in the various activities that we have within the project. The project started in 2022 and runs until 2027, and it involves 19 partners from across Europe. But even if it's 19 partners that are in the consortium, you may have heard also or participate even yourself in activities that are part of the project, because one very special feature of the project is that we also have grants for third parties. So there's 50 projects that we are funding over the course of the project, and that's somehow linked to the activities that we have ongoing in the project. So it's about monitoring long-term climate impacts. It's about characterizing disturbances in Europe, establishing climate smart forestry and restoration trials, field measurements, with stakeholder and citizen engagement activities related to climate smart forestry and forest restoration. And finally, we have some calls on developing tools to transfer knowledge to practice. And in the end of the project, also the results from these third parties become open access available and as input to the ForestWard Observatory. We're not launching any calls anymore, but there's still some decisions pending, and then this activity will close. But many of the projects are still ongoing and running now. This is what I wanted to present as an overview for the ForestWard project, and then I'm returning back to Soren to give an overview of his project.
Thank you very much, Hans. I hope you can see my screen now. Do you see my screen now? Finally, yes. Okay, perfect. I don't know what happened, but I will give you a brief introduction of OptFor-EU. You still see my screen, I hope. Now it's in the presentation mode. So OptFor-EU, optimizing forest management decisions for a low carbon, climate resilient future in Europe, is implemented by 16 partners from different countries in Europe. And the primary objectives and ambition you see now, maybe the technical objective, the main one, is to co-develop a decision support system which is designed to provide both adaptation and mitigation options for forest community, but mainly for forest managers. With this, we hope to support the science-based optimization of different forest ecosystem services, including the decarbonization. This was from the call text, so it's a requirement of the Commission. And based on this, the ambition would be to provide meaningful tools for enhancing the forest resilience across across Europe. So the project is centered on the DSS and tailored toolboxes to target forest managers and different practice stakeholders. We cover a large area of forest in Europe. We include all the 14 European forest types, and we investigated this again in the project. We are preparing now. It's almost accepted. We hope a publication on that. We have 8 case studies in OptFor-EU, and you see there the countries, 9 countries, and more than 400 forest practice stakeholders which are exposed, which are testing the DSS. Then this is the concept diagram of the project, with the DSS, as I mentioned, as a central focus, but incorporating data about external pressures like climate change, of course, and climate extremes or land use changes, forest fires, pests and diseases, like forest conditions, including forest productivity, old growth forest. Again, this comes from the cold topic. The focus on the old growth forest is from the topic. Essential forest mitigation indicators. We have developed a set of such indicators, paper submitted, so probably we will be able to show it very soon. Or forest resilience. Last but not least, forest ecosystem services like carbon sequestration, water regulation, wood products, or biodiversity. We aim to reach different target groups: policy and decision makers, transnational organizations, scientific community, of course. But as I mentioned, the main target group is the forest managers. And you can see here the 8 case studies we have in OptFor-EU. Maybe this is also interesting. We plan and we are working now at the upscaling of the results already obtained in OptFor-EU. The project is ending at the end of this year. In November or December, we will have the final conference in Brussels, and we will share the invitation. With this, I thank you very much. And if you have questions, please use the chat. And with no further discussion, I will go to we can go to see the next presentation, which is about forwards. And I invite Hans back to say a bit more about more details about forwards. Hans, over to you.
Thank you, Sorin. I saw there were some comments on audio quality, so I hope this is better now. Let's hope. Yeah, so in this talk I will go a bit deeper into the forwards project, and particularly focusing a bit on the monitoring and modeling aspects that we have within the project, and all the results that should feed into the ForestWard Observatory that we are developing within the project. So I already explained the different objectives that we have for the project. So it's roughly centered about monitoring what's going on, and also coming up with climate smart forestry solutions into the future. With regards to the work on the monitoring work that is happening, we have activities where we are building on a large network of IEECP forest sites that have been measured and remeasured for a long time already, and we want to improve the measurements that are being done, or extend the amount of measurements that are being done by also linking with the dendrometer networks, bringing in also drone and aircraft measurements, and ultimately also linking up with remote sensing products so that we provide real-time or close to real-time information on the climate change impacts on forests in Europe. So these are all sorts of activities that are now ongoing in the project. And apart from that, we're also working on methods to detect and characterize forest disturbances, such as disturbance caused by wind, fires, and bark beetles. Next, see some first result is coming out already from the project, which was published a few weeks ago. So it's a European Forest Disturbance Alerting System. So it detects or alerts about forest disturbances in Europe near real time. So it uses radar-based information from the Sentinel satellites, and it provides information on disturbances in 10 by 10 meter resolution, and say every 3 to 6 days there's a new image available into the system, and you get confident information or increased information with increased confidence roughly every month. So this is a system that has been developed, and it detects canopy removals over 50%. So it really looks at the large canopy removals, but not at thinnings, for example, that are being done. And this is now running. So it produces information on near real-time information on forest disturbances since 2020. And here on the side, you also see some examples of maps that have been produced so that you can see the disturbances that are happening and when they're happening throughout the year. So in the different winter, spring, summer, and autumn seasons. So this material is now available. Apart from that, we are also working on climate smart forestry and restoration management practices. So we are developing a network of pilots that's also through the grants with the third parties, and which we ultimately try to test different management alternatives for guiding climate smart forestry and restoration. So we want to look at information coming out of field trials. So we have looked also in the past already what field trials exist across Europe, and that's what you see also here in the map. So it's like many trials that exist already in Europe, and we are trying to bring information on those and from all ongoing trials in the project to as a base for developing good practice guidance and as a base for the web apps that also Giovanni will present a little bit later. In addition to that, we look into looking what is actually happening in the field. We also conduct spatially explicit forward-looking projections. So we are working with the efficient space model and the LPG gas model to make projections into the future of what are the impacts of climate change and also what are the management practices that can be taken to address them. So by doing that, we are now moving also that we actually blending information from field sources as well as remote sensing into forest monitoring. So many of these models are traditionally based on field inventories, but now we also want to use the power of the remote sensing information to initialize these models and use also as a basis for projections. So we are using information on growth and mortality and harvest probability from field-based inventories, but we also include information on disturbances and clear cutting from satellite observation. So we can do that now for the current situation, so for the recent past, and attribute to see when we see losses of carbon in forest, what is the background or the reason for them. But we can also use these as systems to make projections into the future of how disturbance may be affecting European forests and how they could be assessed or tackled by different climate change scenarios. So as an example, the LPG gas model has now conducted a series of estimations in which we estimate the disturbance caused by fire, bark beetle, and storms into the future. And you can see here the projections happening for two different climate scenarios, with the SSP1 with the less severe climate change impacts, and SSP3 with more strong climate impacts happening over time. So we can see what are the upcoming disturbances and biomass losses that could be foreseen, and what are the areas of at risk in the future. And we then want to do this in the next step. We want to address these issues by looking how these vulnerabilities could be addressed. So there we are continuing with the efficient space model, where we look in particular management actions that could be taken and to see how well they address the vulnerabilities, while at the same time meeting other needs, including climate objectives. So the efficient space model is being developed. We are currently collected information from some 9 million individual trees across Europe, with almost 400,000 plots that all have been remeasured 1 to 4 times across Europe. And we use the information, this comes from NFIs, to initialize the model so that we can provide the structure, the initial structure in the model in terms of species and diameter distributions. And then we have various processes in the model to measure, to monitor mortality, or to project mortality in growth, harvest, and planting. And in that, we currently can provide estimations for 20 different countries across Europe. But this is all work that we are currently doing, and that is done in, I say, work in progress. And all of the information that we have within the project should be feeding into the ForestWard Observatory. This is a platform that we are setting up that should be trusted and that should contain trusted and curated information on European forests. The idea of the platform is that it is not a platform for for everyone to dump the data, but it's a platform where information comes available from trusted information sources. It should be easily findable and accessible. Therefore, you should be able to visualize the results quite quickly, and you should also be able to download all the data that we have on European forest. The observatory is in development. I think there are some beta versions now becoming available, but hopefully in the next months and before the end of the project, you will get to see the full platform that is being developed actively within the project. And with that, I come already to the end of the presentation. So what I wanted to present on forwards. If you have questions, feel free to contact me. Feel free to contact our coordinator, Ruben Valbuena. And of course, you're also very much invited to check our social media channels to keep updated about information on the project. And in the next talk, Giovanni will continue with more details on particular activities in the project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hans. And I mention again that the chat is open for questions. If you want to receive immediate questions after this meeting, you feel free to ask questions in the chat. Otherwise, you may contact Hans and colleagues to get the answers. Thank you very much, Hans, for this very interesting presentation. And I give the floor now to Giovanni to see some other things about digital tools developed in Forwards. Giovanni, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so good afternoon to everybody. I am Giovanni Santopoli. I'm a professor in forest science at the University of Molise in Italy, and I am a lead of a research unit of University of Molise for the Forwards project, and we worked on the development of two web applications that I will show you later. Before to start with the web application, I would like to introduce very briefly the concept of climate smart forestry, because the web application focuses on the evaluation of the climate smart forestry. And I would like to show you the chart on the left, which highlight how the topic of climate smart forestry is increasing in the last 10-20 years. Starting from 2015, and last year it reached more than 100 scientific papers focused on the evaluation of a climate smart forestry. So it is an interesting topic. It is a recent topic, and it can be considered an emerging branch of sustainable forest management that aims to manage forest to counteract the negative impacts of climate change on forest resources and also on the society. I have reported some interesting papers that focused on the definition and the development of the concept of climate smart forestry. And I will proceed with the description of the climate smart forestry. So basically, the concept of climate smart forestry is based on three main pillars. One of these is adaptation, there is the mitigation, and there is the social dimensions. So climate smart forestry should support forest technicians in the identification of forestry strategies for promoting the adaptation of tree species in the new environmental condition due to climate change. And also it should support forest technicians in the identification of strategies for promoting the mitigation through forest management and through the use of timber products obtained from forest management, and as well as it focuses on the development, on the ensuring the provisioning of ecosystem services that forests provide it it includes these three pillars, and the activities that we made within this project were based on the development of digital tools for assessing climate smart forestry. So web apps are digital applications. They are online. We developed several codes for running this application, and there are basically two web applications that we have developed within the ForestWard project. The first application is called the Climate Smart Forestry Indicator Generator. It deals with the evaluation of indicators for climate smart forestry, such as carbon stock, growing stock, and several forest structure indicators. The second application is called the Climate Smart Forestry Assessment Tool, and it is focused on the evaluation of the climate smart forestry. We developed a methodology 2 years ago, thanks to the work carried out by our PhD students that made an investigation through a questionnaire to the main forest stakeholders, conducting them from the ForestWard's mailing list and from the Cost Action Project mailing list. The Cost Action Project was the project that defined the definition of a climate smart forestry. So for us, they both mailing list include experts on climate smart forestry, and we collect information and the perceptions about the weight and the importance of indicators for assessing climate smart forestry, and then we use this weight for assess mitigation, adaptation, and the social dimension, and then the climate smart forestry. So we applied an hierarchical method for evaluation of climate smart forestry at several levels. The first application, Climate Smart Forestry Indicators Generators, is this that you can see in the video. There are several dashboards. One of these introduce the application and describe the mechanism, the framework of the application. Then there are two dashboards, one for mitigation and one for adaptation, within which you can find information about the data set that you have to use for running the application and for obtaining a result, as well as you can see the output that you can be obtained from the application. There is also the dashboard for social dimensional indicators, even if in the current version it is empty because we didn't focus on this aspect, but there is one main reason. It is difficult to compute social dimensional indicators. So this is the main reason. And we focused on mitigation and adaptation. The last dashboard regards the list of 3 species that can be computed within the application, because currently we use the allometric equation for Italian 3 species. You can run the video again. The Italian 3 species. So we aims to enlarge this list of 3 species, including also allometric equation from other countries. But at the moment, we can use only Italian data. We tested the application with National Forest Inventory data, so we can say that the application ran very quickly. You can see the screen, so you can upload the data set. You can customize some parameters on the left part of the screen. You can use several forest stands for the same countries, as well as you can use several countries, but you can select one countries for time. As I said before, at the moment you can evaluate only for Italy. Then you can select other parameters such as forest management intensity or the name of ID plot, the name of a dominant 3 species. For specific indicators, you have to select specific columns, and then you can display the results directly on the application as a table format or as a chart format. And of course, you can download the data in as a report or as a table or as a figures. So this is the first application. It is important to note that there are 15 forest diversity indicators, such as forest structural indicators, that can be assessed within the adaptation pillars, and 3 indicators, such as growing stock, carbon stock, and deadwood volume, within the mitigation pillars of climate smart forestry. Very quick, also, this is the screen of the second application. There are 3 dashboards. The first one for the description, so the framework is the same. In the second one is the space for CSF calculation. You can upload several datasets from several countries. In this application, you can upload more countries in the same analysis, in the same exercise. So you can display directly the value for each indicators directly on the web app, the value of climate smart forestry, mitigation, adaptation, and the social dimensions. Also, you can see the average value in the bottom part of the application, and there is an interactive part of the application within which you can manage, you can select all the years, or you can select a specific years. So in this way, you can see the change of climate smart forestry. The third dashboards allow to compare through these ternary plots the value of a climate smart forestry obtained for year and for each countries. Also, we give the possibility to see the variation among years and across countries, and the average value of climate smart forestry. The ternary plot is interactive. You can zoom in, zoom out, and you can also identify some additional information if you put the mouse on the dots. On the right part, there is the description about the interpretation of the result of ternary plots, and this is my best in this time that we have available. So at the end, we can consider that these digital tools are very useful tools for translating the theory concept of climate smart forestry in practical implementation. They offer the possibility to balance mitigation, adaptation, and the social dimensions. They offer the possibility to evaluate climate smart forestry, and also to identify some pillars that needs to be more attentioned, I'll say, to give more attention. The main limitation that we identified, even also after the revision of the manuscript that we published, are to enlarge the set of indicators, especially for social dimensions. So we have to be more inclusive with the social dimensions aspects, and also giving the possibility to the end users to manage the application in order to customize the weight of each indicators, because such indicators can be modified, should be modified based on the specific local context or the specific forest context. So in conclusion, we can say that the applications are already highly versatility, and they offer a great possibility to observe the trend of climate smart forestry across Europe, and they also offers the comparison of the evaluation and the comparison of spatial and temporal climate smartness across Europe. So this is all of my side, and if you have any question, you can write on the chat.
Thank you very much, Giovanni. Very interesting presentation. Thank you for keeping it with the time limit. And I find a lot of common results, common things approached in both projects. We also have tools developed in OptFor-EU, and I invite Harald Vacik from Boku to speak in 10 minutes about the toolboxes, the DSS we are developing in OptFor-EU. Harald, please.
Hello. Yes, thanks a lot. And as Hans and Soren has already nicely explained, we have to deal a lot with the challenges related to climate change and the related disturbances, how this influences forest management. And we're all aware about the impacts on climate change, on regeneration, on growth, on the disturbances. And in this context, also these disturbances feedback on the growth of tree species and regeneration processes. But with forest management, we are trying to mitigate and adapt, on the one hand, these effects and trying to provide better products and services. And in the context of the OptFor-EU project, we have a strong focus on these decarbonization processes. And one of these main core components that we wanted to develop is a decision support system which should cover the whole process of forest management planning. So we discussed with the stakeholders, with the forest managers, the different core groups, how we can support forest management planning in this process. And on one hand, it's about identifying the problem with regard to the current impacts, what kind of tree species I can grow on a certain site, what are the preferences of the forest owner for a certain planning unit, and what are current challenges related to forest management planning in that context. And when this problem is somehow identified, it's then important to identify options to overcome that problem. And here we would like to provide forest managers the opportunity to identify the best management option for a given treatment, for a given stand condition, so that we are providing better information what are the mid to long term effects on the different management alternatives. And in that context, it's then very important that managers can provide their individual preferences on the one hand and their goals, but also provide their preferences regarding timber prices, regarding harvesting costs, and tailor those different management alternatives according to the need. And the DSS should then help to evaluate the alternatives and support a kind of a scenario planning, so that the people using the DSS can explore what are the opportunities, costs related to that, what are the benefits, and with the different climate change scenarios also find out what could happen if we change from one climate scenario to the next one. Is the current management still the best one, or should we adapt at a certain time step over time? So that was somehow the core concept that we discussed with the different stakeholder groups, and that led then somehow to the design of several components of the decision board system OptFor-EU. So we have different tools that are embedded in one common framework. So we follow a kind of a toolbox approach, which has on the one hand a website which provides access to different components. We have a data client, we have a database, there's the information provided to the end user through a common glossary, which allows them to learn about specific terms and definitions. And we have two tools, the Explorer and the Evaluator, which allow to investigate forest management options and the conditions of the current situation. And in this context, we decided also to follow a so-called data-driven DSS. So this means that all the models that we have used in the project, and on the one hand, we had the forest gap model PICUS, and the other hand, we had also the biogeochemical flux model 3D CMCC FEM. So both models have already modeled and predicted the effect of different management approaches and provides this information in the database to be retrieved by the end user in that context. So the idea is I show you just some slides and then give a short live demo to the DSS, especially focus on the evaluator component to get a better understanding about decision support system. So as I said before, we have this website which provides access to different DSS components to support smart decisions for forest management. We have the glossary where you can search for different terms about the indicators and explore the definitions. You can learn more about the different case studies that we are working on in OptFor-EU. And you could then also choose one of these tools in this menu bar, the Explorer, the Evaluator, or Glossary, in order to dive more deeper into one of these tools. So if you go, for instance, choose the Explorer, so then you will be able to select the case study area, define somehow the area of exploration, similar like we have seen before in the forwards context, and then you can choose from a list of essential forest mitigation indicators to see their change over time for different planning units and learn better about the current conditions. And for a deeper understanding, there's then also the FMI indicators provided, which can the user then give a better understanding of the meaning of all these indicators. On the other hand, we have the evaluate component. So the evaluator component should support forest management planning directly on the stand level. So here it's then more interesting to define a certain planning unit. And for this planning unit, the idea is to select a certain list of stands that you would like to explore. And for these particular planning units, you define then the objectives, the indicators that you would like to explore, and find out the best management option for a given planning unit. Additionally, you can also define the harvesting costs and also the incomes related to carbon additionality. So we're defined in the business as usual, and what is the additional revenue that you can gain from changing the business as usual to an adapted forest management approach. And in that context, the user can then define, again, different kind of inputs and change also the management regime in that context. And what is then interesting, especially in that context for the user, that you can play around with these scenarios in the evaluator, where you have then a list of different indicators and different preferences. And based on the comparison for different options, it will then be possible to change the planning period. It will be possible to change the preferences for the indicators. And then the user will easily find out that there's a rank reversal possible, depending on the preferences, depending on the planning period that you're choosing. And you can then make your conclusions based on this overall evaluation. Yes, I would like to jump now quickly also to the online tool in order to give you the chance to see the whole system also in live, just briefly get some ideas about how it works. So similar as I have quite shown now in this slideshow, we would have here a planning unit defined by a shapefile, what you can easily modify, also alter or add a new one. You have then a list of different indicators that you select from a longer list where you can choose, and based on your interest, you could also go, if you would like to learn more of a certain indicator, then you directly moved to the glossary, and then you get a more detailed information about that particular indicator. And as I said before, you can provide the economic parameters regarding costs, regarding revenues for different treatments. And there's also the opportunity to provide the business as usual strategy and these revenues related to that. And the tool itself is then computing the information that is provided by the user and gets a kind of a first overview of the results based on the objectives that were chosen. In our example now, I have just chosen 3 indicators: tree species diversity, wood removals, and carbon stored in the living biomass. And the preference direction would be, for instance, to maximize the tree species diversity, to minimize the wood removals, and to maximize carbon stored in the living biomass. And the end user would have a certain importance on carbon stored in living biomass and 25% for the other 2 indicators. And what is now of interest, especially in this tool, that depending on the planning period, now we have a very short planning period of 10 years, you can see that the single tree harvesting system seems to be the overall best management option for that particular stand. And when you change then the planning horizon to until the 2060s, so you can see that actually no management would be the best option. And when you increase then somehow the planning period for the evaluation until the end of the century, then the shelter wood becomes the best management approach, because they have different treatments over time. And the same is also true when you would change then the importance of the indicators, that basically when your preferences change, then also the overall results will change in that context. So this is just a very quick overview about the opportunity to explore in that context, and just maybe give some very short conclusions on that issue. So it is quite a challenge for us to provide these results to the end user because as you can imagine, this simple access via web interface is not easy because on the one hand, we would like to have hands-on and easy-to-use tools, but on the other hand, visualization and reporting is quite important in order to improve the usability of the tool. This toolbox approach allows us to address these different demands for the end user types and also better system understanding of climate smart decisions, but it's still very difficult to press all this complex information in simple graphs or in simple text messages. The other issue is that also finding a common language among the project team members is a key issue, and this is maybe also something in common with the ForestWard project, working on indicators and having a kind of similar understanding about forest management is very important. So thanks a lot for your attention and open for questions.
Yes, thank you very much, Harald. So being more involved, of course, in OptFor-EU, I have the feeling, but I have this feeling for all the presentations that we need to organize another meeting and another meetings to show everything we have in the two projects. I think it's very, very interesting for the forest research community, but we will have the chance, of course. And now I invite Francesca Giannetti for the last presentation. It's also from OptFor-EU. Francesca, the floor is yours. And this is my last intervention actually, because I have to leave at 3 o'clock, and Orietta will moderate the Q&A session. Francesca, please,
hello,
the floor is yours.
Hello, hi.
Hello.
I am Francesca Giannetti. I am a researcher at the University of Florence, but also a member working at the Blue Biloba, that is a startup, a spin-off of the University of Florence, working really in contact with the forest owner and forest manager. We talk about some idea or some tools that we can use from the DSS, especially focus on one of the case study area, that is the Italian one. That is the Model Forest Association of Florentine Mountains. Is a huge area where there is a mix of private and public forest, but also some abandoned lands. So we have many projects there also to restart to work with this abandoned forest in order to recreate a bioeconomy around the forest sector. Not just on wood production, that is one of the main input also in this area where we have a specific mark of wood, but also going to other kind of ecosystem services. So the tools we develop in OptFor-EU could help us also in understanding how to change the business as usual we have in some of the stands and compare them for some specific indicator that maybe are the goal of our forest management plan or could be multiple goals on our management plan. So when we enter in the DSS, as already Harald show you, we need to enter with a user and a password. Here I create some videos, and then you will have the same interface that already Harald show you. And for my point of view, we can go launching the evaluator part. That is one of the most important part for forest manager and forest owner in order to use the model that usually are really sophisticated to be highlighted, and then select the study area where OptFor-EU have developed the data. So in our case, I will show you Italy, and Harald have already show you Austria. So after selecting the area with the evaluator process, you can go to next, and then create a project that could remain there. So you are able to work every time also with the same project you would like. And in this case, I created the Vallombrosa 1 project where I directly import all the forest management units of this forest management plan. So for upload the data, you need to use a zip file using all the shape file there. And then when you import the file, you are able to work with this file. So you are able to select the stands. In particular, I will select one of the stands. And immediately, the DSS will help us to extract some basic information regarding the model part we have, so the European forest types, and also the area, and also the age of the stand based on model approach. So here are more than 100 parcels that I have uploaded. You can filter also for some specific information there, and then you are able to select the stands if you want also to modify the stands, and then to look the stand directly on the DSS. So here is my parcel for this forest management plan. Then, as already shown by Harald, for us in this area, it will be important in some case to maximize different kind of indicator. In our case, I will select growing stock that is related to the wood production, but also all the component of carbon stock, because this is an area also where there is many forests that are already certified under PFC and FC carbon and ecosystem services accounting. And so in these tools, I select these indicators in order to understand how to mix these objectives in the forest management plan scenarios that we have. As we can give a different score to the different indicator, a different importance, as already Harald said. So for me, in this case, in the first example, I will give the most importance on carbon stock storage in the living biomass comparing to the growing stock and the other component of the carbon. So I can select all these things, and then also I can save my scenarios, because maybe I would like to use this scenario also if some other stand in the future, so avoid it to me to replicate this information. Then since we would like also to have some economic indicator or balance some economic indicator, we have this very not really sophisticated number to be added. So how is the revenue for cubic meter in this area usually, or what is the revenue for tons carbon in this area? And then we can go to simulate to give also some specific information regarding the mean harvesting cost for the different type of cutting we perform with the modeler inside our DSS. So also to be more specific. And we decide to leave this open because the accessibility, the road infrastructure is mostly depend also where the stand is. So we cannot give exact information on that around all Europe. So we decide that the user have the ability to add this information there. And then also to provide the information regarding the period we would like to analyze. So when we talk about business and the business opportunity for forest management and forest user, it is important to have also the possibility to highlight the different period you need to maximize one or the other indicator. So here we can select the different period, and we will see also that, as already Harald show you, that also the optimal forest management change according to the period we are going to analyze. So since forests usually have a long period, this is a very important aspect for also for long-term vision in the area. So here are the indicator, and then we can compute the optimal management model methods. And in our case, the optimal will be the single tree harvest with low intensity, because the period that I choose is a very long period. And then we also have the ability to change this information and to recalculate again, as already Harald showed you. What is important? It's important for under the forest management practitioner that can use this information to understand also what is the level of harvesting intensity that they could apply in the forest, but also having the ability not just to change the forest management type, but also the climate scenario that also give additional information on that, and maybe change again the information. The other important part is to have the ability to have somehow some graph that you can compare among the different kind of indicator, but also the possibility to look to one specific indicator among time, and also not to just look to the best forest management that the DSS provide to use, but also to compare just two or more different scenario, also in the graph, in order to understand how also the one that you would like to apply, not just the one that is provided by the DSS, could be compared. So also your business as usual could be compared in this way against our possibilities. So this is a very important part, especially for giving some indicator that could be used by the practitioner, especially for the long-term vision. Usually the DSS starting with data that are implemented with data that are usually forest inventory data with remote sensing, provide you some map. In this way, with the model approach we implemented in OptFor-EU, we are able also to have this long-term modeling part, and also to link this modeling part with the business part of different kind of indicator. Now I talk about carbon and wood, because in our case study in Italy, these are really important for both decarbonization, but also for bioeconomy in this area. But for example, we have seen before the 3 species mixture or the runoff part. So also some indicators that are linked with other ecosystem services that for the moment have no market, but that we could use. So this is all for my side.
Thank you very much, Orietta. So, Francesca, I have to give the floor to Orietta, but I would like to thank you all for the presentations and for the participation. I think we now have a flavor of the 2 projects, and I wish you a nice afternoon and nice discussions. Thank you.
Hi everyone. I will take now over from Sorin. My name is Orietta Hulea. I'm from WWF Romania. We are also partners in OptFor-EU project. I would like to ask you if you see the slide with our panelists. Do you see it?
Now we see our face.
You see? Yeah. I am having a bit of challenge today with this, but anyway, our panelists were already introduced. I would like to thank them for the presentations and for the interesting informations they shared. And I would like to open now the floor for questions. There were few questions in the chat that were answered in between. In the meantime, until somebody from the audience raised the hand to ask questions, maybe I would ask Hans and Giovanni if they want to say something in addition to what was already answered in the chat. If you think you need to bring more information or clarify.
Oh, not really. I think we answered it, but well, perhaps I can say something. So I saw that question by VRL about whether we are also using the plot inventory data that we have collected so far for efficient space for looking at the effects of droughts that have happened in the recent years. So I try to answer that we are not doing that yet, though I would really love to. I would also like to look at other factors, perhaps biodiversity implications and how they are affecting increment patterns that we see. But this has not been so far the scope of the work. So what we mostly focus on is trying to see how we can use information coming from the remote sensing products to improve our modeling or to make it more complete. It's challenging, I can tell you. The other thing that we have been trying to do is also including disturbances such as wind, fire, and the storms into the modeling framework that we have developed. And we have now two parallel systems that are can be used. One bit more based on process, and the other one based bit more on monitoring or observations. So this is something that we have included in the modeling framework until now. Hello, Giovanni, do you want to say something on that question?
Thank you for the question. I read there was a question about the which is subordinated to each other between climate smart forest and the sustainable forest management. So in our opinion, as I wrote, sustainable forest management was developed before at the early 19. So climate smart forest is considered a branch of sustainable forest management since it takes indicators from sustainable forest management and try to apply this indicator for assessing aspects related to the mitigation and the adaptation, firstly, and then also to the social dimension. So for us, climate smart forestry is considered subordinated to the sustainable forest management, even because sustainable forest management can be considered an umbrella concept for forest management.
Thank you both for the additional information, clarification. And there is, in the meantime, there is another question for Harald and Francesca. It's about the indicators that are mostly sea-based, the same in deliverable D1.2. And in the context of DSS designed as a tool for local forest administrators, we assume they have enough knowledge to understand the relation between sea indicator proposed and the typical volume-based ones they normally use?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. I mean, Francesca has already provided the list that we currently use. So we have discussed along how we should name the different indicators as a first step, because this is what normally the user can see when they choose along the long list. And then when they have the chance to choose one of those, so then they get a better understanding about these fact sheets that we have for each indicator to better understand the means of each indicator. But regarding the differentiation, the only thing what we're able to do, especially when it comes to carbon additionality, so that the user can only choose carbon-related indicators. So that is maybe one way of avoiding that the user is selecting a wrong, so to say, indicator, and we just have chosen those indicators in that process of expressing the revenues from this additionality by choosing from the carbon-related indicators and not the other ones. But for sure, the list is much longer, and especially when it comes to the Explorer component, there are also a lot of indicators which have nothing to do with carbon at all. They are just indirectly of interest, maybe to explore the problem situation when it comes to drought period, when it comes to disturbances, when it comes to precipitation and so on. So here it's very clear that the meaning is different. But I think the question is excellent because it's always the communication about these issues is very crucial. And if people don't understand what is meant, then yeah, rubbish in and rubbish out. So that's an issue.
Thank you. If there are more questions, please raise your hand or just put your question in the chat so that we can see it. And in the meantime, I can ask you, all of you, actually, one question about the challenges. Actually, what is the biggest challenge in developing a DSS at European level? And it's up to you who wants to come in first.
I can say something. We have a very variety of forest management types, but also economy linked with the forest. And also another important aspect is also the ownership structure of the forest and how it is organized. These are mainly challenging in forest management application. There is a very diverse ecosystem in Europe, from the south to the north, passing from east country. And so the main challenge is to link also the indicator with the local context. That is quite important when we evaluate the social economic part that usually we forgot, but we try in OptFor-EU to address, especially with many workshop and also many input from the stakeholder that are from the forest manager to the policy maker, because we need to understand this. But we have also some aspects that are similar each other. So the main challenge is to bring these local frameworks at European level, because also at the local level, if I look to the Italian case study, we have different ownership organization and forest management goes among the same area. We have a very well-established private and public forest managed, but we have also land abandoned. So this is the main challenges. So to link this aspect with at the European level. The other important aspect that fortunately now we have from ForestWard, but also from OptFor-EU, many harmonized data that could support the forest management part that could be used also differently at a local level. So this is a good news we have. And of course, we need to link this with the local conditions that are quite, for that reason, for example, for the harvesting cost, we have asking to the partitioner to have this harvesting cost, because from Norway to Italy and Romania, they are completely different. And you need to know exactly where the stand is to understand the accessibility and all these parts related to the revenue. So it's a decision support system. So there is a forest owner manager that need to know what they would like to understand is a support to decision, not that the DSS will take the decision for you. So this is for my point of view.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Francesca. Hans, you want to intervene?
Yeah, it links a bit to what Francesca was saying. I guess the main difficulty is how to translate very complex scientific results to something that can be understood in relatively simple words. Like we have very different process that we try to model, that we try to understand. And if we would communicate these directly, I think you're overwhelming many people. So I think the difficulty is really to translate many complex things in something understandable and clear, and that links actually with the daily matters that people are facing. The other thing I think is even then what to communicate. I think we have had within our project quite some discussion on which indicators actually to select, and every time I think when we discuss on this, I think we add more indicators than that we actually remove, because there's always a discussion, you should also do this, you should measure this. I think this is important, and it is very difficult to come up with something relatively concise that should cover still main aspects. I think we are struggling with that. I think many of us struggle that in the scientific world.
Yeah, thank you, Hans. Harald, please.
Yeah, no, I would underline everything what was said before. I just would like to add that on the project perspective, there's also something what has to be related, what has to be considered. So when all these nice tools were now developed, so how to sustain these tools after the project lifetime. And this is something what we have always seen in such kind of large European scale projects, that a lot of efforts are done into developing such kind of platforms, developing tools, apps for different purposes, but how to make sure that these tools can also be used at a later stage when the project has already ended. And this is maybe something what I think is also very important for the European Commission to make up a plan of how these different platforms can be maintained also after lifetime. This is not just something related to technical issues. This is also something related to having more case studies, because when you would now count all the different case studies all over Europe that have nicely done some modeling work for different purposes, if we could put them all together in one database, this would be a huge impact for forest managers all over Europe. But this is something what I think is very important. And so that's why this kind of joint events like today between ForestWard and OptFor-EU is a good approach of at least making aware how we can join efforts in order to make these platforms available for a long time.
Thank you, Harald. Giovanni.
Yes, I wanted to confirm what my colleagues already said, and I would like to add that, as Francesca mentioned, it is difficult to harmonize data. So we within the ForestWard project, we tried to prepare a template for collecting data in the field through the pilot site across Europe, and we spent a lot of time to define the final template in order to select the variables that we need for running the application and also for assessing the climate smart forest and for enrich the data set of ForestWard's database. So harmonizing the data is complicated. Sometimes we want to harmonize data which are very different among them. For example, in the last week, 2 weeks ago, sorry, we had a workshop with local stakeholders from Mediterranean biogeographical region. We asked them which are the main challenges that they can imagine for the future of forest management, and they highlighted different option that the option selected from the same workshop organized in Latvia, for example. So we presented a paper, a work that our colleague Naburs is publishing now, that tried to harmonize the forest structure across Europe in 6 forest management models, forest structure models, but sometimes that model are difficult to represent specific condition. Within our application, we tested the application at the local context with forest inventory data collected for the application, and then we use the application for testing. We use data from National Forest Inventory and from IEECP forest dataset for testing the application in order to provide a products that can be run across Europe and at a different scale.
Thank you very much, Giovanni. Are there any questions from the audience? Either raise your hand or just speak. In the meantime, also in the chat, you can also see some links to publications or additional information provided by the panelists. If there is no question from the audience, maybe I can continue. I would also like to ask all of you which decision problems can be worked on with these tools, either the DSS or the tools developed in ForestWard's project.
If you like, I can.
Who would like to start? Harald,
yeah, I can start.
Yes.
I can start. I mean, the way of how we try to address this with the OptFor-EU is that we have different tools like the Explorer or like the Evaluator, similar like also with the ForestWard projects, different tools for different purposes. So this means also that the decision problems that can be addressed have a different nature. So if I'm just as a decision maker, I'm in the phase of understanding the problem, identifying the challenges, identifying somehow the pros and cons of certain management activities, then I would just explore the current situation. So it's more about problem identification in order to find maybe the best option to overcome the current problem. And if I have already identified the problem and I'm aware, then I would like maybe to better identify which management approach is the best to achieve my goals. So this is then more a multi-criteria, a multi-purpose decision problem where you have then a list of different objectives and you would like to find the best compromise solution under a given set of objectives. And depending on the nature, so we have followed in OptFor-EU a more multi-attribute decision-making approach, so where we have a list of criteria and preferences, but there are also other tools available that focus more on this multi-optimization tools, where you try then to find the best management strategy for a given landscape. This is something what we are still exploring in OptFor-EU, that maybe if the user type is not a manager who is interested in management options and the stand level, but would like to find the best strategy for a certain forest management unit. So then it's a combination of different management prescriptions on the stand level for the whole management unit. And then there's the need for a objective optimization approach needed in that context. But this is then again a different decision problem. So to make it short, the answer, so the different tools should always support these different kind of problems. And as the problems are quite different in forest management, depending on the decision maker and the hierarchy of where the decision maker is actually focusing on, also these problems are quite various that can be addressed.
Thank you, Harald. The other panelists would like to intervene?
Yeah, I think another important aspect we have implemented is not a really decision, but there could be also some information dissemination, but also communication aspect is the glossary, because we have many new indicators that coming also for the evaluation of ecosystem services. These indicators are usually used also for some of the standard in certification. So also having the ability to understand this kind of indicator to be implemented and monitoring system in the forest, not just has a description, but with a concrete number and a unit of measure. This was an amazing job also done by Stephanie Linzer in our project from Boku. And I think this is a very important aspect also for the forest manager, also to have the ability to understand the indicators, having some measurements and unit of measurements that maybe I think in the future, real future, could be also translated in economic value. For the moment, it's easy to account the carbon because it's the most easy way to have euros per ton for carbon. But maybe in the future will be also some euro for runoff or other indicator that we have implemented in our DSS. And I think that understanding the possibility to have these kind of numbers, it's really important for the decision in the future, because we hope that the ecosystem services market will increase and also the economic revenue from some of these indicators. So it's important also the glossary for me to be in contact also from forest owner, manager and policymaker to understand this number for creating a market. Without measure, you cannot create a market. So this is important to have indicator with concrete information.
Thank you, Francesca. In the meantime, there was a hand raised from Madi, but I don't know if Madi is still with us. If yes, please ask your question. This seems is not. Hans or Giovanni, would you like to add something to what was said by Harald and Francesca?
Yes, I would like to highlight that our aim was to provide tools which was easy to use and provide tools to support the forest technician avoid to develop additional indicators, but we focused on the existing indicators in order to assess the climate smart forest in this case, also in the past. So we can observe the difference between the past management and the currently management. So this was our main aim. And this is why we focused on 10 indicators in the second hub, particularly, which are very common, which are very easy to collect in the field and to evaluate. And they can represent almost very clear the condition of the climate smart forestry and allows to balance mitigation, adaptation, and the social dimensions. Of course, there are several efforts that can be made to improve the application, but in this way, with the current version, we already can evaluate the trend of climate smart forestry over time, and we can compare different geographic areas.
Thank you.
I can also just compliment Giovanni that within ForWard, we are developing, of course, the apps that Giovanni presented before, but apart from that, we're also developing a good practice guidance that should come available towards the end of the project, where we try to provide guidance on what you could do to address particular issues related to climate smart forestry and restoration. And the idea of the guidance is not a comprehensive management handbook of what you should do or how you should do particular forest management, but it's about what you could do under certain conditions. So we try to use experimental knowledge that exists from trials or from other sources of information, as well as forward-looking estimations to guide forest managers or to inform them of what they could do under when they are facing certain issues. And we also want to make the information available from the Forest Knowledge Gateway that has been developed as part of the Superb project. And I can paste the link in the chat. So in that sense, I think the results that we have are kind of linked to particular cases that have been analyzed, and it's more difficult to apply more generally to forest management guidance.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. In the meantime, are there any other questions from the audience? No, but we are also approaching the end of our Q&A session, and I would like to invite all the panelists for a final remark, and this would be on what's next. What's next in your projects, in your work, in your own list of priorities? What's next, and what are the things that you consider for the next period of time? And maybe
I can start.
Yes, Giovanni.
So we are in contact with the colleague from Florence, from University of Florence, Francesca and her colleagues, and also with colleagues from Scandinavia for testing the application with other data. So in the future, we would like to use the application for assessing the climate smart forestry in a wider geographical range, in collaboration with the Scandinavian colleague and with the Italian colleague.
Thank you, Giovanni.
Perhaps I can continue then, because the work that we are doing is ultimately feeding into the ForestWard Observatory that we are developing in the project. So it's the results that from Giovanni, from our teams, but also from the colleagues that are working on the monitoring aspects, and also the colleagues that are working on the societal aspect. That all the information on forest and the impacts of climate change on forest is feed into the ForestWard Observatory. And the colleagues are working hard to develop that portal. So in the next months, you should get updates. And until the end of the project, we'll continue working very hard on that.
Thank you. Francesca or Harald, who wants to continue?
Yeah, for us, it will be the testing and the application of the DSS in the real case study area, so that that all the practitioners there will test and give us feedback. For my point of view on the project, we will try also to link the business as usual that is implemented for the moment in the case study with the preferred business as usual in the future. So using the data from DSS and the modeler to highlight some potential step to develop a new business opportunity or to give them a roadmap on that aspect. For me, one of the main pillars that I'm working now a lot, also for my research, but also practical experience, is especially linked with these tools for the small-scale forest owners. So giving them the opportunity to participate really in the forest sector, giving them voice. So this is, for my future, the main aspect that I would like to test this information, not just coming from OptFor-EU, but also as ForestWard, also other kind of project that have produced many data, but how to apply them, especially for small forest owners that have not the ability to have a lot of money to implement forest management in the real scenario. So this is my field of desire in the future for my research. So apply really this information for the real forest management plan.
Thank you, Francesca.
Yeah, maybe just to add on this, I mean, besides the validation, which is very important, and yeah, forest managers are very critical about the tools and the results, what is presented. So this is very important, this feedback, not only regarding visualization, but also regarding the outputs and the way of how we present those outputs. So now this is a kind of an anticipation of what is maybe acknowledged, but decision makers will tell us how they like it or not. So this is one aspect. And the second aspect is then more related, as I said already, this upscaling. So currently we exploring the data on the case study levels, and we also evaluate forest management options on the stand level. But what is still missing is somehow providing support also to forest management on a landscape or forest management unit level. And for that purpose, we would have them to combine all these different findings on stand level and scale them up to forest management unit. And in this context, then also different management approaches are needed, and different kind of optimization techniques are required to identify the best strategy for a certain landscape. And how to communicate in these results will be, again, another challenge. So there's more to come. As Soren said, there might be the need for other webinars to present then these final tools and all the components.
Thank you, Harald. With this, I would like to thank you all for this exchange of information and excellent presentations. And I think both projects are complementary. And the results, all these tools, this toolbox actually will provide the end users actually with a lot of options to, in the end, improve the forest management and take into consideration all these challenges that come from climate change, especially. I would end with the invitation to all our participants to follow the results of these projects on their websites, and to thank you all for your time and for joining us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks a lot.